Bonjour y'all et bienvenue à Together
Hello, y'all,
Ensemble
and welcome to Together
2022,
Ensemble
une conférence
2022,
nationale sur
a
les
national
objectifs de développement
conference on the
durable
Sustainable
au Canada.
Development Goals
Je
in
m'appelle
Canada.
Chuck Odenigbo,
My
en
name's
Frank
Chuck
Albertin de Calgary
Odenigbo,
et je serai
Franco
votre
Albertin
maître de
from
cérémonie pour les
Calgary,
prochains
and
2
I will
jours.
be your MC for the
So
next 2
I'm one of the
days.
founding directors of Future Ancestor Services, une jeune entreprise dirigée par une équipe autochtone et noire qui a pour objectif de rendre ce pays meilleur pour la prochaine génération. Notre nom est en effet notre mandat.
We're a young company run
We see
by an
ourselves
Indigenous
as
and
the
Black team
ancestors,
with
the
the
future
goal of
generation,
making
and the
this
future of
country
our
better for the next
ancestors.
generation.
Par conséquent, nous portons le fardeau. We hold the weight to advocate for those who aren't even born yet, who will be impacted by the decisions we make today. Nous avons l'obligation de démanteler les systèmes de pouvoir qui agissent comme des
We
barrières
have to
pour
dismantle
opprimer certaines
systems of
personnes
power
et
that
recréer nos
act as
sociétés pour
barriers to
soutenir
oppress some people
l'épanouissement
and
de
to
tout le monde.
recreate
So,
our
before we
society
start
to
the
support
event,
the flourishing
and before we start our
of
time
all
together,
people.
allow me to do some housekeeping. You'll likely have already noticed a few features to make your conference experience more enjoyable. The first is a live interpretation button. I feel like I should have said this at the very beginning. But there is a button that allows you to toggle between English and French. Please feel free to select the language of your choice or your language of preference, and you will hear live interpretation in that language should the other language be spoken at a given moment. And also, if you're having difficulties accessing or navigating the conference platform, you'll find a button for the help desk. Feel free to click on that button and send a message to receive live support. You'll also see on the bottom of your screen a live chat button. So you can use this feature to connect with other conference participants and to ask any questions that you may have during the panels. And then also use the Q&A button thread in the chat, and that will also be used to inform some of the questions that we ask during the panel sessions. Faites-nous savoir si vous avez des questions ou si vous avez besoin d'aide supplémentaire à travers le bouton pour
If you need extra support, you can use the help desk button.
Encore, Together Ensemble est un événement,
Together Ensemble is an event and collaboration to bring together all of Canadian society to create a meaningful conversation about the SDGs and raise awareness. What is happening in Canada right now? Who's working on what?
Goals call for collaboration and innovation at every level of society, in all sectors. Et donc, à la fin de notre temps ensemble,
so at the end of our time together, I sincerely hope that you'll feel inspired to reimagine and create the future of our country and our world, and that you will have made new friends with whom you'd like to collaborate to conceptualize and implement great projects, and that you'll recognize that you're part of a larger community of change makers. You are not alone.
Afin de faciliter ceci, we have networking tables available for you to have face-to-face conversations with other conference participants. These tables will be available at all times of the conference, so please just click on the button for the networking room and select the table to join. There is a limit to how many people can join a table at a time, so if all the tables are full, feel free to just sort of click back later on. Pendant cette conférence, j'aimerais vous donner le défi, en effet, d'interroger.
During this conference, I would like to challenge you to question your identity, to question your worldview. Identity is a rich and nuanced concept, integrating the socio-political, socio-economic, and socio-cultural and biological elements that form the abstract nature of who we are, while consolidating the worldviews we carry within us. Our worldview refers to the perspective through which we view the world, our ideas, attitudes, knowledge, insights, opinions, and identities. This perspective has an influence on the way we make decisions, we do our work, we navigate relationships, and many other things. However, few of us take time to examine our worldview. Before I continue, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, the University of Waterloo, who's graciously hosting the event,
Goals Funding Program, and the Community Foundations of Canada for their financial support. And a big, massive thank you to the conference's many other organizing partners who have contributed and continue to contribute towards strong SDG leadership in what is currently Canada. And finally, please use the hashtag Together Ensemble 2022 on social media platforms as a way to share your insights from the conference and see what other people are saying. Hashtags are in, do it, it's awesome. Okay. Before we continue on, I would be remiss if I didn't create space in this coming together to acknowledge the war that is currently going on in Ukraine. La guerre est un cauchemar qui a des conséquences et des
War is a
implications bien
nightmare that
au-delà
has
du champ de
implications
bataille.
far beyond the battlefield.
There are folk who are of Ukrainian descent ou qui ont des proches d'origine ukrainienne. There are folk who have survived war or are the children of those who have survived war. There are folk who have worked in war spaces, and there are those who know domestic war through the systems of oppression that is a part of our nation, especially Indigenous folk who know what it means to have a foreign invader violently occupy land. Cette guerre nous révèle encore des dangers d'impérialisme, la permanence du racisme,
This
l'hypocrisie de
war
nos
still
pays
reveals the
et
dangers
l'impact des
of
ressources
imperialism,
naturelles
the
et des changements
permanence
climatiques
of
sur la géopolitique.
racism, the hypocrisy of our countries, and the impact of national resources and climate change on
It's important to
geopolitics.
keep in mind that this war highlights the importance of the SDGs across the world. And I recognize the heaviness of the impact it may have on your capacity to show up during our time together in this conference and your ability to be present in our collective spaces. So I'm going to ask that all of you be kind to yourself and take breaks as you need. It's hard to sort of go through a pandemic, an occupation, and then also have a potential world war on our hands. That takes a mental toll. So be kind to yourself and take breaks as much as you need them. But I'm also going to ask that you be kind to others because you don't know what they're being impacted by. You don't know what they're processing. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what this war has triggered in them. And so be kind to others that you're sharing this space with today as well. With that, I'd now like to invite Hwiemtun or Fred Roland to the stage for the opening land acknowledgement and remarks. Hwiemtun is a cultural ambassador for the Cowichan Tribes and the director of the Sacred Cedar Centre in Duncan, British Columbia. Over to you, Hwiemtun.
Hi, thank you, my relation. We're going to use some of our traditional dialect here of the Cowichan people and welcome you to this great event of knowledge and sharing. As my relation was saying, we have many things on our plate that we contend with each and every day, and it seems to, we have one piece disappear, then another piece comes in. But in our Hwiemtun language, we say "Tlino aichka nisiem, piano aitanishkwalakwa, kwalmoch nishnawaya tanishkwalmoch, tlino aitanishkwalakwa tlinisiem nisyais, tlitano aitanatamash and a Cowichan nisiem nisyais, tlino squals, tle aitanat lamathach nisiem nisyais, ditana aichka tanisiem." We share that much of our Hwiemtun language. Again, we are trying to make sure we sustain as much of our language as we can because, I say we could spend a whole conference talking about what we call cell memory and DNA relationship to language. As we see, our young relation uses their dialect to speak, it changes your whole being. But again, if we look at our societies and the way that we're moving forward, and the impacts of our societies and how do we continue to grow, we have to look at, again, what are we putting into this development of our societies? Each and every one of you come from multiple places to try to make some great decisions, to try change things. Say we come, again, we're on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. It's such an honor, to see everybody, in this new world we live in, this new technological world. And a lot of my teaching is what you call experiential, but I find it very difficult because that experiential piece of our relationship is so fragmented now. And in this, the same thing is when I'm teaching people, for example, if I have traditional medicines in my pouch, can you smell it? Can you taste it? We've lost those senses. So I'm grateful for the work you do, because trying to come together in the best way we can to bring our teachings, we call it Shnawayas. Each and every one of you have great teachings. Each and every one of you have a great opportunity to change things. And these are the things that we look at is, we always use this term, la lamatach, take care of your spirit, your tsali. This is all we can do in the work that we're trying to move forward. But the impacts of all these other things that continually affect us, we have to learn how to take care of ourselves. So I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. My elder would always say, you all have very special gifts. You have a treasure chest of gifts that you've been getting over the years when you speak with people, when you meet people, from elders, from your family. You always hold on to those gifts, and then every once in a while, you're going to take that gift out and share it with people. And this is what this opportunity is for you. You're looking at a development of a new world. What is this new world for us? And how do we sustain our movement forward? In our culture, we always hold our hand up and say, I thank you. Because again, we hold our hand up because now I say, I receive everything from everything you're going to be sharing during this moment in time. So again, so grateful for this invitation to share a few words. And we always look at how much more can we learn. My grandfather used to always say, grandson, I really don't know anything. And in this time, when my grandfather would speak, he only knew a lot about our culture. And he'd say, I know this much of this. In your time, you might know this much. But really, what do we know? So this is the big part of our stepping into these new worlds, these new experiences, because we start to learn, we start to understand, we start to look at other cultures and say, I didn't understand that. I remember one time I was speaking in Germany in our language. I had 485 students, and students all started giggling and laughing. So I'd ask them, I said, why do you laugh when I speak our language? And there's only one brave student in that class said, because I don't understand. And that's my protection. I don't know what to do, so I just laugh because I don't know how to respond to it. So a lot of things that we're doing in our each community, we're learning, we're trying to find a way to respond to it. Because again, the impacts and the changes and dynamics of all these things that we're stepping into, we have to learn. We have to unlearn to learn. And this is what we do at the center here, for students learning about everything, global issues, personal issues, spiritual issues. So I wish you well on this beautiful presentation, this beautiful time. I'm going to be in and out, to listen to some of the presentations, but I'm grateful today to have this moment to be with you. And thank John again for the invitation. I know we sort of had a miscommunication about time differences, Eastern time, Western time. I got grandson time, and grandson's got, you got to go to bring me to school. And I'm like, oh no, I have to be at a conference. So we love and blessings to each and every one of you for all this great knowledge you'll bring forward to share with each other. And again, as Grandpa would say, listen to everything and you put it in your treasure box, because one day you're going to need to share that. You're going to need to help somebody with that. So in that introduction, I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I look at you because you're a whole new family. You're a whole new family of Shnawayat, the whole new family of knowledge. So remember that. We all got Shnawayat. We got some knowledge, but again, how much more can we learn from this opportunity? And that's all we're doing, is bringing opportunities to each other. So thank you so much, so much for this opportunity to see you in this one level linear time. So thank you again. Have a great day. And again, welcome from the Sacred Cedar Centre on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Chelchetum, for those beautiful, beautiful words. There's so much I'm cherishing in this. Take care of your spirit. Recognizing that our senses are cut off in this online space. And so while we're using our ears and we're using our eyes, we have to compensate for the fact that we can't smell, we can't taste together. Really ensuring that all of us recognize that we're all here with this treasure chest of gifts, every single one of us, whether we are the minister of a country or whether we are a student at the university, we all have a treasure chest of gifts to offer and to share amongst one another. And so listen to everything. We have much to unlearn and to relearn, and recognize that, in listening and in watching and sharing in this space together where our senses are limited, there's still much treasure that we can collect and add to our chest to offer to those who are not in this space with us together. So honestly, Chelchetum, thank you so much. Hwiemtun, that was beautiful and that was powerful. J'aimerais maintenant inviter Vivek Goel,
Now I'd like to invite Vivek Goel, President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Waterloo, to come forward and give us a word of welcome.
Thank you, Chuck. Bonjour tout le monde. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Together Ensemble conference. As the host of the event and the founding institution for SDSN Canada, the University of Waterloo is proud to bring together organizations and individuals from across sectors and the country for this conference. I would like to thank Minister Gould for joining us to say a few words this morning. I can only imagine how busy things are for members of the federal cabinet. I'd also like to thank all of our speakers over the next 3 days, the organizing team, and everyone in attendance. The Sustainable Development Goals guide global action on the urgent environmental, political, and economic challenges facing our planet. Our university is committed to solving these problems and recognizes the importance of the SDGs as a roadmap to addressing these challenges. We would be remiss to continue discussion about sustainable development without acknowledging recent global events. Ukraine, a sovereign democratic state, was invaded last week. Our thoughts are with the people of the Ukraine. This current conflict, in addition to ongoing attacks on democracy and human rights around the globe, is yet another reminder of the urgency of our work toward our goal of peace and justice, SDG 16. Additionally, the global pandemic continues with the Omicron wave spreading around the world, and we continue to witness extreme climate events locally and globally. As Canada and countries around the world continue to grapple with the repercussions of the pandemic, the climate crisis, and rising geopolitical tensions, our work toward achieving the SDGs is more important than ever. Our response to the global pandemic has demonstrated that we can mobilize on an existential threat. This is a lesson we can and should apply to the complex global challenges that the SDGs seek to address. Universities and colleges play an important role in educating our students and the public about these challenges, and in mobilizing scientific and technological expertise. We also have a responsibility to address the challenges that apply to our own campuses and in our communities around us. The challenges of sustainable development are complex and interconnected. As we continue to witness, global threats like the pandemic and climate change compound existing social and economic inequities. They create additional hardships for already marginalized groups, including Indigenous groups, racialized people, low-income communities, people with disabilities, and other equity-deserving groups. Earlier, we recognized the ancestral land keepers here in our region and across this land. It feels appropriate to emphasize the importance of many traditional Indigenous practices and stories in guiding us towards sustainable solutions to address the challenges. Canada ranks 21st in the world on implementing the SDGs. No country is on track to achieve them by 2030. We need to do better. The uniqueness of SDSN Canada is its connections between partners and collaborators across the country. This conference brings together a diverse group of innovators to explore opportunities that will result in lasting and impactful change. The power of this group is rooted in its interdisciplinary relationships. In 2018, SDSN Canada came together. As the founding institution and host, the University of Waterloo uses our position as home to Canada's largest faculty of environment to share knowledge, activate research, and help solve the interconnected economic, social, and environmental challenges confronting us. SDGs play an integral role in our sustainability strategy. The strategy commits us to be a leader in sustainability, education, and research, and to operate a sustainable campus and embed sustainability into our campus culture. We continue to explore innovative ways to meet and exceed our commitments moving forward. Those measures include striving towards a net zero operation, but equally as important, fostering a community culture of diversity and inclusion. On the national and global scales beyond our institutions, universities and colleges play an important role in bringing together multiple sectors to contribute, collaborate, and align. Now is the time for transformation. As individuals and collectively, we must maintain and build momentum towards global change and action. Together, we can create a better future for our communities and the world. Thank you for your commitment to making a lasting impact. Enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Wow, it has been what, 2 years that we've been in this pandemic and I still get myself muted? My bad. Merci beaucoup, Vivek. Thank you so much. You brought up many powerful points, and I think we have to discuss à travers cette conférence. I made a promise I was going to start a sentence in English and finish in English and start in French and finish in French, and I just broke that promise. I'm so sorry. But you made so many, really powerful points, right? The SDGs are a roadmap to addressing challenges that we are currently seeing being faced in our country. We already have roadmaps in which we can use to try and address these issues that we aren't on track to hit the SDGs by 2030. And that to do so, we need to dedicate ourselves. We need to recognize the importance of it, right? We need to recognize that our country is not perfect and we need to move forward towards achieving these SDGs, and that the SDGs are not something for other places to achieve, but that we also need those as well. Vous avez apporté l'importance de reconnaître le savoir.
You mentioned how important it is to recognize indigenous knowledge in the way we achieve the SDGs. It is very important. If we boast about being the most multicultural country in the world, we have to use the multicultural aspects in order to achieve SDGs.
The COVID-19 crisis and the multiple linking world crises and how they're all sort of linked to the SDGs and the lack of ability or the lack of willpower in trying to achieve these SDGs. I wanted to share another statistic to the ones that you sort of shared. 5.2 million, the number of orphans created from COVID deaths. across the world, right? So these are important conversations to have. So merci beaucoup, Vivek, d'avoir mis tout ça en contexte pour nous.
Thank you, Vivek, for giving us context for this. Our next guest is Karina Gould, the Honourable Minister for Families, Children and Social Development. You have the floor. Thank you very much, Chuck. I'm very happy to be with you today.
2022 Together Ensemble Conference. I want to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from my home in Burlington, which is on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. I recognize that many of us are joining from other traditional territories, and I encourage us all to take a moment to acknowledge and reflect on the great privilege that we have to be able to live, work, and learn on these lands. As you know, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are all interconnected. They are each individually an important part of the work ahead, but together they serve an even greater purpose, building a healthier, more prosperous, and inclusive world. And Chuk, let me say thank you to you for starting us off by acknowledging what's happening in Ukraine. What we're seeing is very difficult, but it's also important for us to recognize that we can't achieve a healthier, more prosperous, inclusive world without peace. And so that also needs to be the focus of these conversations. The interconnected nature of the SDGs means that making progress on a goal like no poverty will waterfall into advances for zero hunger, gender equality, and reduced inequalities. Every single effort counts. Pour progresser dans la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable, il faut que chacun...
In order to progress towards the achievement of SDGs, everyone has to do their part. It is a fundamental aspect of the national strategy of Canada for Agenda 2030. Moving forward together. In this national strategy, we expect contributions from the whole of society. Every individual, organization, group or company can help move forward Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. Every participant in this conference is proof of that. And we will take all the lessons learned in this conference and use it in our communities and across Canada.
Development. I am Canada's federal government lead on the 2030 agenda. But this is not my first brush up against the SDGs. When I served as the Minister of International Development, I led the Government of Canada's international implementation of the SDGs and was responsible for Canadian contributions to the SDGs abroad. Shifting from an international to a domestic focus, I have had the privilege of seeing both sides of the work being done. Today, my department leads on 4 of the goals: no poverty, quality education, decent work, and reduced inequalities. Every day we ask ourselves, how can we ensure every Canadian has the support they need to succeed and provide for their families? Nous avons déjà fait d'importants progrès.
We have made a lot of progress. Through our strategy in order to reduce poverty, we've achieved our objective to reduce poverty by 20% in Canada, and we're working hard to go even further.
We are seeing the Government of Canada's Canada-wide early learning and childcare system becoming a reality across the country. Already, many families across the country have seen a reduction in their childcare fees. By making childcare more affordable and accessible across Canada, we are helping to reduce inequalities, especially for working mothers, and we are supporting efforts to provide quality education for all children. Employment in January remained above pre-pandemic levels. However, the emergence of the Omicron variant has stalled growth for some workers and some sectors of the economy. These groups will continue to need targeted support. And our government is taking steps to help people overcome barriers to employment, because sustained and inclusive economic growth can create decent work for all. En ce qui concerne la réduction des inégalités.
Now, as far as reducing inequality is concerned, the gap between affluent people, richer people, and low-income people has been reduced at its lowest level since 1995. The Government of Canada is committed to bridging the wage gap between men and women. The Wage Equity Act is to help 1.3 million workers.
To advance the 2030 agenda through our SDG funding program. Today, I'm so pleased to announce that Canada's funding program has supported over 130 projects for approximately $22 million since its launch in 2018. That includes $5 million in funding for an additional 42 projects since the launch of the national strategy last February. We can't measure what we are not tracking. And this is why we have articulated and reaffirmed countless times the Government of Canada's commitment to advancing the 2030 agenda at the federal level and to reporting back annually to Canadians on progress. Dans les prochains mois, nous publierons notre tout premier.
In the next few months, we'll publish our first annual report on SDGs, and we'll examine not only what the government does, but also the progress made by the whole of society as far as the SDGs are concerned. It is a way to reflect on what is working, what we should focus our attention on, and whether there is cooperation opportunities. And this report will show what we've accomplished through the Agenda 2030.
Young SDG advocates, and I'm really looking forward to hearing their perspectives and understanding what we can all do to encourage and facilitate their participation in the 2030 agenda. Incorporating youth voices around the decision-making table isn't just a best practice, it's a necessity. I look forward to engaging with you over the coming days, and I wish you all a productive and meaningful experience. Enjoy the conference. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Merci beaucoup, Ministre Gould. Thank you so much. Like, you touched upon many powerful points as well. And I'm loving this roster of sort of introductory speakers that we have, because there's this unifying theme of peace. Every single speaker that we've had has talked about the importance of peace, the importance of SDG number 16, and how all the other SDGs are essential in creating that peace and that stability. Vous avez parlé également de la manque de pauvreté. On est en train de bien
You've
faire
also mentioned the end of poverty and how important that is to have a more equal economy to go further. And you've also mentioned together, ensemble, society can progress. And that's why we're having this conference, to be together and to progress.
So, merci beaucoup.
So thank you very much.
Puis j'espère que tout le monde a pris comme vraiment le pouvoir de ce mot-là, la meilleure possibilité de collaboration.
Understand the importance of this word, collaborating together.
So, alors,
that's why we're here together.
Je suis heureux.
I am
je me sens enthousiaste d'annoncer que la conférence Together Ensemble 2022
announce that Together Ensemble 2022 is officially underway.
Nous avons 3 jours de programmation fantastique devant nous, y compris une journée d'événements parallèle le vendredi.
On Friday.
Voici notre première table
Here's our first panel
le moteur
now,
de l'action
driving
climatique
shifts
au Canada.
for climate action
This
in
panel
Canada.
will be hosted by one of my really good friends, collaborators, someone who I have gotten to know incredibly well, both at a personal level and through her incredible work, Jasmine Brar, the co-executive director of Youth Climate Lab, and features Chris Henderson, executive director, president of Indigenous Clean Energy and Lumos Energy, and someone who our team has been able to work with at Future Ancestors quite a bit, which is really exciting. Nous avons Alain Bourque, directeur général
Alain Bourque is with us as well, executive director Uranos.
Jahabi Nandi, Climate Change Secretariat for Environment and Climate Change Canada. I'm going to hand it off to Jasmine to lead us in this conversation.